Hey, let's take a look at part 2 of Oblomov, chapter 11. So the penultimate chapter of the part. But first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Bex and to Dan for commenting on my, a plea? A plea for support. Yeah, it was really nice to hear from you and it means the world. So if you're the only two people that are watching, I'm talking to you both and that's all right. So let's see where we are. This one brought up a few ideas in my head, some feelings, the kind of thing. I mean, Oblomov is just so relatable for me. It's crazy. So where are we? Starts off with a letter from Stoltz. He's like, dude, where are you? He says, I'm going to Italy next, I think it was. So you can meet me in Switzerland, and if you don't make it, then how are your projects going? How's your estate? Are you getting things done? So, yeah, he kind of is. Stoltz reminds him of their agreement. Remember, now or never. And Ilya's like, yeah, now. Guess what he's done? He's got in touch with some architects. He's got some plans done for his house on the estate for him and Olga and the little ones when they come along. So he is getting things done. But there's so much other things. He's got to mortgage Oblomovka. His neighbour in the estate has been in touch and wants him to partner with him to building a road and bridges and stuff to get produce to the market. It's going to require 3,000 rubles. So that means mortgaging Oblomovka, and it means going to the courts to get official papers stamped. And my mind just makes me think of all these Instagram reels that I see on my feed about ADHD, because that's what the algorithm gives me, because that's what I'm watching. I'm watching a lot of content about ADHD and about executive dysfunction. And I just get a sense that Ilya's not going to be able to deal with all of these things. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, we get this little quotation here. You remember, he had doubts in the relationship with Olga, and that caused her some distress. She doesn't want doubts. But they've kind of resolved it. Everything's okay. And it says, if he ever did have any bad dreams or gnawing doubts, Olga was always standing guard like an angel of mercy, her bright eyes watching him as she extracted from him everything that was on his mind. And peace of mind was once again restored, and feelings flowed smoothly and placidly once again, like a river reflecting the ever-changing patterns of the skies above. It's just lovely, isn't it? I loved that prose. And so I wrote it down in Russian because, my Russian's rusty, and I figured this would be a fun exercise. Hardly ever handwrite Russian. So I want to do that more. I mean, I know you don't care about this because you might not speak Russian or care, so I won't read it out. But just to say that that's a thing that I did and it was fun. And my handwriting in English is good and Russian is terrible. So I do need to practice a bit more. So, Ilya's wondering what it is about Olga that helps her to know what it is she wants from life. And he comes to the conclusion that it's because her eyebrows are crooked and she's got wrinkled skin above her nose. It's like, what? I found that quite hilarious, actually. Then, oh God, I've made lots of notes on different books today. Oblomov still nursed a faith in friendship, in love, and honourable behaviour, and no matter how often or how badly he had been mistaken in people, or would be in the future, and in spite of all the heartbreak he would suffer, he never wavered for a moment in his principles and belief in the good. So, I mean, that's a quality, isn't it? He's got that quality going on about him. It's just, when you start to doubt him as a human, as a functioning human, you get this glimpse into just what a good person he is. And Olga knows this. Remember, she spoke about that, having read the letter that he wrote, trying to chuck her to sacrifice himself so that she can find someone else who's more worthy, And she's like, actually, I'm glad you wrote the letter. Honesty, integrity, authenticity, vulnerability, these are qualities that she likes in him. And then we get this. This made me think. He never fully realised the weight and impact of words like good, truth and purity when tossed into the current of human speech, or what a deep channel they cut. It never occurred to him that these words, uttered loudly, squarely, and without any tinge of false embarrassment, but boldly and unabashedly, do not just disappear without trace amidst the cacophony of libertines, but sink deeply like pearls into the silt of social intercourse, and always end up finding a home in an oyster shell. Isn't that great? It goes on to say that while he admires positive qualities in people and he's not into the idea of not speaking up for your beliefs, I probably haven't written down the right quotations here to explain this properly, but there's a scene where he's like, in fact, it's right there. Let me find it for you. He did not, however, have the strength of character to acknowledge publicly his commitment to the doctrine of the good and his respect for innocence. Privately, the very aroma of innocence had a powerful effect on him, but outwardly he would often join the chorus of cynics, who shuddered at the very thought that they might be suspected of chastity or respect for it, and he would add his own flippant contributions to the raucous and boisterous hubbub. So that's directly before the quotation I read out, where he talks about the weight and impact of words like good, truth and purity. So it got me thinking about social media and about the way that it can be difficult to speak up for one's beliefs when one has a fear of judgment. Let me explain what I mean. I'm in a WhatsApp group that it's a work thing. I have to be in it. It's kind of the top management of the business. And there's a lot of misogyny and jokes sharing goes on. And this is very common. I don't know in what circles you go around in, but let's just say in men over 50. I mean, that's my kind of demographics. That's what I see. There's a lot of these groups where these memes and jokes are getting sent around, and I don't like it, right? But I have to be in the group. So I mute the group because I don't want to see that stuff. And there are actual messages in there that I need to see, but I miss them because I've muted the group. So why can I not just say, look, guys, can we not, I don't like this stuff. If you want to send stuff like that, do it between yourselves. Don't do it in this group. But if I do that, I'm worried what these guys are going to think. Oh, look at him. He's all blah, blah, blah. He's a sissy or whatever, It's just pathetic is what it is. But I still haven't done anything about it. It's a very personal experience that I feel is illustrated here in what Ilya Ilyich is talking about. Speaking up for one's beliefs. And on social media, it's the same. But then all too often people do speak up about their beliefs. The divisiveness that we see now in politics, etc. That's always been there. There's always been division and friction. But now we've got these platforms and we've got the internet and we've got anonymity. That's a big part of it. People are all too quick to put out their vitriol, their thoughts, their opinions, whatever it is. It's not always vitriolic. Sometimes it's thoughts and opinions that are perfectly valid, and then other people will jump on them. You know what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm getting as a vibe here from Oblomov. So we'll move on from that. Olga gets wobbly and tearful and goes home. What's wrong? She's not feeling well at all. She's feeling anxiety and dizzy, and she bursts into tears, and Ilya takes her home. She doesn't know what's causing her dizziness. She's feeling moved to tears by her closeness to Ilya. She walks back and forth between the house and the park with the same questions churning over and over in her mind. but could find no answers. So, what questions? And then she mentions Sonyuchka. Oh, Sonyuchka, how lucky you are. You would surely have thought it through by now. Now, I'm not entirely sure who Sonyuchka is. She's been mentioned before by Olga. Have we learned earlier who that is? Because I don't remember that. We meet her, though, at the end of the chapter, so give us a sec. On to Ilya. How often he had grieved for a man's loss of his dignity and honour and wept for the disgrace and besmirched reputation of a woman who was a perfect stranger to him, but he kept his mouth shut for fear of what people would think. His true feelings could only be guessed at, and Olga had guessed. So, yeah, that's back to what I was saying there about worrying about what people would think. So we know that he feels that way. We know that she does as well. That's been mentioned as well, that she's concerned about what he'll think of her singing. Remember that scene? At the same time when he was concerned what she would think about his odd stockings and wearing his shirt inside out, you know. And it says Olga had guessed. So when I looked to my Magarshak translation, which I read like 3 years ago, I'd annotated the book and I'd said this reminded me of Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. And I mentioned what the scene was, but I shouldn't probably mention that here in case you haven't read Oathbringer. I don't want to spoil the book for you. But it was interesting that I'm making connections there with fantasy novels that I'm reading and classic 19th century Russian literature. I just love that. So let's get to Sonyuchka. She goes past, Olga's out walking, and suddenly, unexpectedly, a dark cloud appeared in the sky. The two of them were strolling silently back from somewhere and were just about to cross the main road when they were met by a cloud of dust stirred up by a carriage speeding by. In it were Sonyuchka, her husband, and another couple. So, Sonyuchka is introduced for the first time, I think. She gets out and you can see straight away that Ilya is like looking at his feet, feeling sheepish. Relatable. He doesn't want to meet these strangers. He doesn't want to be judged by Olga's friends or acquaintances or whoever they are. He's just like, this is awkward. So, yeah, he kind of has a breakdown again. Starts thinking about the abyss, and yeah, it gets a bit dark towards the end. So, yeah, and then it lightens up again. It's just such a ride, such a trip, this book. Did I make notes on that bit? Or did I think I would remember it when I sat down to talk to you all? I didn't make notes. So I read it this morning and it's already starting to fade in my mind. How about that? So, yeah, he's talking here about happiness, honourable and lasting happiness. I should be ashamed of the way I've been hiding these flowers, drifting along in the aroma of love and, like a boy, making assignations, walking in the moonlight, eavesdropping on the beating of a young innocent girl's heart, catching the vibrations of her dreams. My God! He blushed to the roots of his hair. What a powerful scene. He went on to imagine her bashful consent, her smile, her tears, as she wordlessly extended her hand, and then that long, intimate, whispered conversation, and the kiss in full view of everyone. So, when he has these doubts again, this darkness starts to creep in. He thinks, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to propose. I'm going to ask her to marry me. And then he goes through this scenario in his head of how that's going to play out. Do you do scenarios in your head? You know, I know I do. My wife's always going on at me, oh, you and your scenarios. Yeah, and I did actually. I remember when I was in Kazakhstan working as a translator in 2001. I remember at the time when I was courting my now wife, and she was in France at the time, and I was walking to work and I was going through scenarios. You know, it was getting close to Christmas and I'd booked leave to go home and spend some time with her, because we were apart for like 2 years. It was quite rough. And I decided I was going to propose. And then I was like, am I going to? Will I? Should I? You know, and it all played out. And eventually I did, as I'm sure you'll know. And yeah, obviously she said yes. So, but I played that scenario out. And I feel that as I'm reading Oblomov here, and he's going through this, you know, how am I going to fix this? And I'm going to commit. I'm going to propose. So go on your cell, Ilya Ilyich. Go on your cell, my friend. Chapter 12, one more to go before we get to the end of part 2, and that'll be us halfway through the book. And I was thinking about doing a Zoom call. So if you're watching this and you fancy coming on a Zoom call, meeting some other people that are reading the book, because I would love to, and having a chat about it, let me know down below. I'd be keen to hear from you. I mean, even if it's just 3 people, that'd be good. Just to talk and chat and get to know what your history is with books in general, with Russian literature in particular, with other kinds of literature, that kind of thing. So if you fancy chatting about that, let me know down below. Don't forget that these go out on my Substack at Substack at camscampbellreads.substack.com, where I write these essays up and I put in the quotations that I handwrite out. I'll put the Russian one in as well, just in case you're interested in taking a look at my terrible Russian handwriting and to see what that scene sounds like in the original language, if you can read Russian. And I'm enjoying the scene. Substack is a wonderful platform for the book community. I follow quite a few myself, and there's great banter over there. Great notes going round. As social media goes, it feels quite wholesome compared to some of the other platforms. So I'd love to see you over in Substack. You'll be able to subscribe just to the Oblomov project or any other projects that I do. You can subscribe to them individually, so you're not receiving the ones you're not interested in. And there's an overall feed, which is just the Cams Campbell Reads. So you can subscribe to that as a kind of starting point if you want, and then hand-pick the ones. But there aren't that many other ones at the moment. But I'm hoping to do more of this kind of thing, because I'm loving it. I really am, and I hope that you are as well. If you are, let me know down below. You know, I appreciate very much the comments that I received after my last video. Thanks once again for that. And, you know, I'd love to hear from anybody else who's reading this book and what you think of it. So, speak to you later. Cheers.